So just good morning to everyone. It looks like everyone is doing well. And like the song said, don't worry about a thing. Everything's gonna be all right. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. So today we have a couple things that are going to happen. We're going to have a practitioner spotlight where we're going to hear from Ms. Rhonda from NAMI Louisville, and she will let you know all about what NAMI does and a couple of cool things that they have going on that's serving the community. And then afterwards, we will hear from Miss Marvia Presley from the Newburgh Boys and Girls Club, where she will talk about how she is helping meet the academic needs of her youth at the club by implementing math and reading labs, all right? But right now, if you all could just put in the chat your name and the organization that you are with, please. We always take attendance for these meetings. Just your name and the organization that you are with. Alrighty, so I will not delay. Miss Rhonda, are you ready? And I believe you should be able.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Sorry, I was.
Oh, you're good.
You're your first task. You're really quick on that.
So,
am I sharing now, or were we? Because I thought I was in the middle of the presentation, not the beginning. But I am.
Oh, you can share now.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Everyone, let me know if you cannot see my screen, because I was in a meeting yesterday where we were having some major issues with people not being able to see the screen.
I can see it.
All right. So I'm Rhonda Blanford. As it says on this screen, I am Public Relations and Technology Coordinator for NAMI Louisville, and I am also the lead on our newest project, which is Project Tech Drive. And we are in the process of a new program called Creating Stigma-Free Communities, because we want everyone to feel accepted and no one to be excluded from our journey to making sure that everyone has proper mental health care. So we've been around for 40 years. So it was probably around 1978, 1979 when we were established here. NAMI actually originated in the Louisville area, and now we are nationwide and in 3 other countries. But our affiliate is a local affiliate. So all the money that comes in is local money or state money that we have applied for, and it stays in our area. It does not leave our area. NAMI Louisville is responsible for the same 7 counties as 7 counties. And we also cover the Southern Kentuckiana area. We have free support groups, education classes that center around family and mental illness, education. We have presentations that we do in schools. We advocate throughout the state and federal for bills and grants to change the lives of individuals and families who are suffering through mental illness. We have a youth advisory council that is from age 13 to 24. And then we have a support group that runs from 18 to 30 and then 18 to 99. Those are all free. And I mentioned Project Tech Drive. I'll talk a little more about that later on. We also have a program that's called Stigma Free Workplace, which is the only program that we do charge for in our entirety. It is a supplemental position in a company that your HR department would have to agree that when we come in, we help do trainings on mental illness. We assist with any crisis management. If one of your coworkers are having a really bad day and they are in crisis, we can help you walk through that situation, tell you where referral sites are, and even call ahead to make sure that your coworkers are safe and accepted and not turned away when they get to the door. The CIT program here with LMPD, we do some of the training with that. And now we are happy to say that all new cadets coming out of the LMPD training are now CIT trained. That's Crisis Intervention Team. So they will all have mental health training. And we're working on surrounding cities and counties as well. Mental illness can occur at any point in your life. 1 in 5 individuals have mental illness and are affected by it. The root of it is trauma, violence, or abuse, or any situation. You can also be predisposed through genetics. So even if you don't have something that you would think is a big trauma in your life, you can develop mental illness just through genetics. And that is a major concern for NAMI, and that's why we're working toward working more with the schools, because by the time kids are 14 years old, that's when you'll see more of those diagnosable illnesses, but you can recognize it in younger children as well. We've noticed that you can recognize it in as young as 5 years old now, but you can't diagnose until they're around 14. And even then, at age 14, you can't diagnose the specifics of certain illnesses until they're around 18 to 21 because of certain rules that are in the mental health system right now. But things are changing and ever evolving. And these statistics will change too as we get more awareness out there. And that's what we do. We advocate for individuals and families with mental illness. So major depressive episodes, this is an age group in Kentucky from 12 to 17. You can see throughout the years how the numbers in Kentucky have changed. We now are above the average for the entire United States in adolescents with these major depressive episodes. And this was just in 2015 where this ended. I can tell you now with NTI and with the pandemic, these numbers are much higher, and we're still beating the national average. So we have to make sure that we are talking about mental illness, and talking about mental illness to children does not make them mentally ill. So we have to make sure that that stigma is gone and deleted. The disparity in mental illness in Louisville, there are certain areas of town, and it's not the East End, it's not the opposite end where you can see most of the doctors. It's those ends of towns where even food is hard to get, fresh foods. So what we're trying to work on now is making sure that we can get practitioners into those areas. So therapy available in those areas. So we are working with all the programs that are already existing and trying to add more so that people have access to mental illness in the areas of town where there is a disparity and where there is that dividing line in the middle of town where the haves and have-nots. We're making sure that there are not haves and have-nots in mental illness. So community mental health, what are we doing about it besides just talking about it? We're educating. We have classes that are 12 weeks long, 6 weeks long, 8 weeks long, and they're all free. With the pandemic, everything went online, so it's easy to access. The basics class here at the bottom, that is for families with younger children who have mental illness. And you don't have to have a diagnosis in your child to join this class. You can just suspect that they have mental illness to be able to join this class. And then you'll learn all about it. It'll even teach you about the IEPs and the 504s and who to talk to. And if you still need help, we will help guide you through the process and talk to your school with you. That's what we're here for. We are advocacy. The family to family, that would be more for people who have friends, loved ones, or they are caregivers for someone who has mental illness and they just need more information. It also has some training in it on how to be more compassionate and understanding and talk to your family member in such a way that'll stop those arguments. Instead of screaming at each other, you'll be able to have a conversation and come to an understanding because you'll realize that they really don't hate you or they're really not mad at you. It's a frustration factor. And the one there in the middle, that is home front. That is for our military and ex-military who have suffered from PTSD. This is for the families who have a family member who's come back from war or come back from their military experience, and they don't have PTSD or mental illness from that experience. So we're trying to cover all bases. We have the older family members, we have the military members, and we have the younger children in those classes. So beyond classes, we have support groups. We have the family support group here, which is for family members of and those who care for. And then we have NAMI Connections, which is for everyone. That is a peer support group. These are all led by your peers. So these are people who are not just like your best friend. They are people who are genuinely interested in helping others and who have been through similar situations as you would be facing, who have been trained through a nationally approved program, an accredited program, to lead these conversations. These are also all online right now, and they're all free. So I keep saying online, and I keep talking about the disparities and the haves and the have-nots. That's why we have Project Tech Drive now. Project Tech Drive, our goal is to get rid of that dividing line with technology, access to Wi-Fi, and we have several programs, and it is all focused on the individuals who need it most. So if you are in the federal poverty guidelines, you would qualify for this program. And there's simple ways to qualify for it, and I can tell you more about it if you contact me afterwards. But we work with AT&T, Spectrum, and our newest program that is starting here later in April will be with LifeLink. And we also have the $50 credit program that will last as long as that funding lasts, that just got introduced federally. So stigma-free workplace, I told you there was one thing that we charge for in all of our programs. Everything else is free. Stigma-free workplace, it's aimed at helping employers better identify and support the mental health needs of their employees. So basically, I heard from someone the other day at a store I'm not going to name, but it's a big box store, and they said that their boss tells them very direct orders and doesn't ask them for things. And that makes them have anxiety. This is where we could come in and mediate in that situation without having a direct conflict with the employer, but just to let them know that sometimes in certain ways that you say things, it can make someone feel anxious, upset, or want to run instead of go where you want them to go. Nobody wants to be talked down to. So even if there isn't a diagnosed mental illness that we have to advocate for, we want everyone to feel accepted and valuable. So these programs are valuable for that alone, just so that everyone feels like they're being respected. So Youth Advisory Council, and I talked a little bit about that earlier, that is for ages 13 to 24. So we're getting those early teenagers and early college kids, and we're bringing them all together, and they're meeting virtually right now. They would be meeting in person pre-COVID and after COVID's over, but for safety right now, everything's online. They work on community projects. They work on mental illness awareness. They just did a large program and invited several hundred youth to it, talking about anxiety. It was called Dear Anxiety, and they did such a well job. We are not only helping them in the learning aspects and helping them to teach others, but they get to work on the planning processes of this as well. So they're learning events and organization. These are life skills that they can take into job skills. So that's what's so cool about a lot of what we do, is we let them do this planning and these fun things, but at the same time, they're getting to learn these skills that are so valuable to bring into the future. And they're learning leadership skills and communication skills that they may not have the opportunity to do before. And this program is also free, and it's available to any child in anywhere. You do not have to live in Jefferson County, because we're virtual right now. But when we do go back to in-person, it'll be those surrounding counties in Jefferson County that will focus on those students, because we do meet in areas that are more convenient to those counties. We also have parents and teachers as allies. So we go into the schools and we help teachers and parents communicate more effectively, because parents are our children's first teachers. And then teachers make a big impression on our students, and they leave impacts that can last long into adult age, senior years. When you're told something as a child, it sticks with you. And it may be something that seems very unimportant to that adult at the time, but when you're older and you're thinking about it and you've thought about it for many years, that one statement that someone said to you can mean so much. So those are the things that we need to instill, is that communication, learning about mental illness, and being able to identify adolescents who have mental illness or could use those extra supports. Cut down on our rising suicide rates, which are more than unfortunate. just because we can see that teachers can now identify them and they know how to reach out, because that's a lot of this stress for teachers as well, as what do I do? How do I bring this up? And we can help them with those conversations. Crisis intervention with LMPD, we talked about that a little bit, and how we are now working with the recruits instead of just that one group of CIT. So now all officers will have CIT training in Jefferson County. And this is why. So this is a list by division of all of the mental illness related calls in 2020. So of all the calls they get, this is the percentage that are mental health calls by division. And you can see in this purple right here, the 4th division, almost 1/4 of the calls were from mental illness alone. So it's very important that we train our officers and that they're educated properly on how to identify mental illness, how to de-escalate, and how to keep those individuals safe while they're thinking about keeping themselves and their partners safe as well. So this is the end of my speech, and here's my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. That is my cell phone number there. You are okay to text me and you are okay to call me. I am available typically from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, but if it is in a crisis situation or an emergency, please feel free to reach out to me at any time.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. That is an incredible resource to have in the community. Just with a quick raise of hands, how many of you have heard of NAMI before today? Awesome. So about 2 of you all. And see, and this is why we do the communities of practice, because a lot of times a lot of people may not know of the different organizations and the resources that are available. And she mentioned free, and online. So it's super easy and convenient to tap into this resource. So this is why we are here and this is why we do it. So like she said, NAMI is a fantastic resource for anything mental health and mental illness. As we know, we work with youth, and it does exist within our youth, and we do see that. And like she said, a lot of times with employers, sometimes they stress us out, and we have anxiety. And so like she said, she has a resource for that. So thank you so much for that, Rhonda. And so like I said, so with us being a resource and wanting to find out about what people in our sector are doing, today's topic is meeting the academic needs of our youth math and reading labs. So as we know, COVID is happening actually, and it just shifted a lot of the programming that our out of school time and after school programs did. So, it used to be come after school, you do some enrichment, we'll have fun, and then, we can do some homework help. But then that shifted into now we are a community learning hub. Now we have to do NTI. Now the hours have changed. Everything is totally different. Now we're a mini school. Now we got to be mini teachers. And so with the children not having, experts and professional teachers, there is some learning loss that can take place. And also with them having a different environment that they're not used to, there is learning loss that can take place, So being able to concentrate your efforts in those foundational and elementary subjects such as math and reading, that is something that is core, and foundational to education. And so that's why we chose to do this topic today, because we understand that, learning loss is real and that it has happening and it is happening. And we are anticipating a huge demand in, supplemental education because of the learning loss that took place in 2020. So this is kind of just a catalyst to kind of get things started and just kind of get our minds going, as far as implementing reading and math labs and just tutoring and all those different things. And also, just before I go there, back to what Rhonda was talking about. So BLOCS, we have started a EAP program. So this gives you free access to a licensed therapist, okay? So we know a lot of times we work with youth and we pour out a lot. And a lot of times we don't get poured back into, okay? And sometimes we have things on our mind that we can't express to just, to the people that we work with or to people that we're close with. But we have access right now to a licensed therapist, okay? And if you want more information on that, we'll get that to you. Just email me or you can email Felicia. and you have 6 free sessions with a licensed therapist. Okay, that's free. All right, so you don't have to worry about going through your insurance or if they covers that or not. It's free. Okay, so there's a lot of resources that are available. Like you said, NAMI has theirs, and we heard you all say, you know, NTI stressing you all out, different programs stressing you all out. So we have resources for you all. Okay, that's 6 free. Just wanted to put that plug in there. All right, so I'm going to have the honor of introducing today's speaker. So before I came on with Metro United Way, I worked at the Newbury Boys and Girls Club, which is where Miss Marvia Presley, she is the fearless club director there. And so while I was there, you know, I can pretty much say that what I know now is what I learned from her. She is a light. She is super knowledgeable about youth development. She knows what to do, how to do it, when to do it, why to do it. You know, when it comes to implementing things, she's all right. And so while I was there, I did see that there were some setbacks when with learning and comprehension with some of the youth that I had. I worked with the teens, and you know, a lot of times in JCPS, you just get passed along in disregard to whether you are reading at the level that you're supposed to be on, or if you're able to do the math that you're supposed to be on. So when it comes to us, and we have different reading programs, and we see the level they're on, you know, they can be in 9th grade, but reading on a 5th or 6th grade reading level, you know, so those things require intervention. So when it comes to intervention, this is why we do the math and reading labs like she's going to talk about. Like I said, she is well equipped and she's sharp, she's got it. So further ado, I will introduce Ms. Maria Presley. Go ahead and take it away and let me know when you want me to start sharing.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Antonio, Felicia, Metro United Way, everyone, for allowing me to be on here today and to present about, you know, what we've been doing here at the club. As Antonio said, I am the director here, and so I get to see things from all different angles and then have to come up with a plan to tackle it. So definitely when the pandemic hit, you know, Boys and Girls Club was already on the forefront, giving meals to the community and just trying to meet the community where they were. You know, even doing surveys and give community assessments and just trying to see exactly what the true needs were. So when JCPS went back to virtual learning, naturally we were on board and we all became a hub, and so I'm going to take it now and show you exactly what's starting to happen. So Mr. Antonio, you can, you know, start the first slide. Everybody see it?
Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
And so, how did this all come about? So, of course, we were an MTI hub, and one day I was doing rounds in the club, actually, and passed by one of the staff and was checking in on her, seeing how she was doing. And she began to say that she was very frustrated, that NTI was feeling referred to before, hired on to, you know, do it after school, a little bit of enrichment and then go right into, you know, some fun. And so she was struggling and she said, you know, I don't know, you know, all these kids require so much more than what I can give them in this short period of time, and they're all on different schedules. Everyone had a different schedule, different lives, different times to, you know, do certain works, and so it was just overwhelming. And so you can go to the next one, Mr. Antonio. So she started noticing a lot of behaviors, you know, so children they weren't able to complete the assignments. They were being disrupted and, you know, word for word reading and all that kind of thing. And to be able to sit there with them all day, she's like, I can't do it. So there was this one young guy in the room and she was like, and he refuses to do any work. He's acting up. She's like, oh my God, Ms. Presley, I don't know. I said, you know what? I'll take him. Let me take him off your hands today. I'll work with him today and, you know, do the rest. So as soon as I got him up to the front, I was able to tell right away what his issue was. And his main issue was he couldn't read. And so right here, when you see the slide, barriers to success, you know, he was acting out that disruptive behavior because he didn't want his secret to get out, that he couldn't sit there and do the work. So next slide. All right. So I want you to take a listen to this, and then I'm going to ask you a question because I want this to kind of be a little bit interactive. So you can play it.
Getting there, man. All right, what's this? Okay, that's still, you don't know that one. What's this one? That's good. He just told you. What's this one? Yes. What's this one? Sit, hit, sit. Say. Made. Made. Good job. Thank you very much.
Right. So if you can come off mute for a moment, and can someone guess what grade this young man is in? Anybody willing to take us try at that? I guess.
Say is 4th or 5th grade.
4th through 5th. Well, guess exactly what grade. Don't try to give me an exact guess of where you think you'd be. What grade?
Fifth grade, but a 1st grade reading level.
Good guess. This young man is in the 6th grade. He's in the 6th grade. And if you can see the words that I have on the board, those are like, many, fast, sit, and it was so hard. So next time, Mr. Antonio. This was actually the young man that I took out of the room where the staff was feeling overwhelmed. He was acting up all over the room, just, going crazy. And so let's play this one.
Go ahead. All right. Go ahead. Read that for me. Is this what? What is that word? I don't know. Is it? Go ahead. Why does pop? What's that word? Pop what? Popcorn. Okay. Water. Each kernel of popcorn has tiny drop what? What's that word? Droplet. All right, so we're gonna do some other things.
Okay, so who wants to take a guess at what grade he's in?
I'm gonna say he's in probably about the 3rd grade reading and it's probably a kindergarten level.
Okay, that's a good guess. So he's actually a 2nd grader. And like you said, yes, kindergarten reading level, he really couldn't read. Like it was very hard. And he was acting out, which a lot of our kids, you'll see them trying to act out because they want to distract from that fact. I don't want you to find that out. And so that's how this got started. It actually got started with me and this young man right here. And then, as I was sitting at the front desk trying to do director duties and help him at the same time, because that was his actual schoolwork right there. And staff were saying, so now it gives you an idea of what staff was saying. It's hard to sit there with all of them and do all of the work because all of them kind of needed this. So next slide. So then I decided there's no way I can do my full job and sit there with him all day as well. And so I decided we would create some reading and math labs because we noticed that there was, barriers in math as well, discrepancies in math, because if you can't read, then you can't tackle word problems. You can't, figure out some certain things. So we had to do reading and math. And we didn't shoot in the dark. We did assessments. So we assessed each member's reading level and even their math levels. We provided differentiated instruction. And that means that in our labs, each child was getting instruction based on their level. And so that takes a lot of work, but you know what? That's what it's going to take to get our kids where they need to be, differentiated. And so we also noticed their stress went down because they weren't grouped with a higher reading level group, and now they've got to try to, and you just saw them, so 3 reading and math labs were established after we did the assessments. We could tell where each, group kind of was. And so I got the JCPS teachers on board, and I also helped and assisted because I used to teach reading and I love reading. Next slide. So we began from the very basics. We're not experts. We just want to try to do our part in this big thing. So we focused on phonemic awareness. As you heard him, he couldn't sound out the words. He couldn't decode his fluency. It was just word for word for word. And, fluency is all about your speed. And your speed impacts your comprehension, because he would sit there and read word for word. And then when I would say, so what was that talking about? He was at a loss. He didn't know, because so much energy was spent trying to figure out each word that he couldn't put it together. So we focused on vocabulary and spelling. He couldn't spell at all. And not just him, I'm focusing on him, but this went to teens, as Antonio stated before. We have teenagers who, some of them couldn't read at all. And if you can imagine their behaviors when they're trying to act out because they're embarrassed and now can't do NTI. Next slide, please. So this was one of the reading assessment tools I used. The substitute teachers, they use some others, but this is something that I love when I taught 3rd grade, because it gets them with the fluency portion, and it has, as you can see, the timers. It has a word per minute chart, so it can track and measure their progress. And as you can see, the color coding, the color coding lets you know what level they're on, and are they going to be able to be on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade level with the colors. And so that was one of the assessments I used with the children. Next slide. I want to take a listen to him, and this is after a week. This is after 1 week. All right.
All right, you ready? Let's turn the timer. 1, 2, 3.
Gus is a dog. Gus can run. He can jump. Gus likes to dig. He digs in the earth. He a big hole. Gus digs and digs. The hole is too big. Gus falls and he can not get out. He needs help. I can help Gus. I get down in the hole. I pull him out. Gus is happy. He runs and jumps. He licks my face. I give him a big hug.
All right.
And look at the timer. There's still time. And when he began, I think he was at like 10 words a minute. And even as we went forward, I think the first week he went up to 39 words. And what makes the timer fun is that they try to beat the timer. And sometimes he gets ahead of himself trying to beat it, so he loses his place and stuff like that. But you can see within a week, he was reading much better than he was when I got him that Monday. It was like, woo! Next slide. So the math lab, kind of, similar thing. We focused on addition and subtraction with regrouping, and that was for our 1st and 3rd graders. Mastering multiplication became around the fourth grade and fractions and going up word problems, racial relationships, and those were the things we focused on. Next slide. So every day, basically what our labs looked like was a JCPS teacher, and some of our teachers and volunteers would work with a group for about an hour. And they were actively engaged. These were groups where, you see them trying to beat the timer, or they're using math manipulatives, or they're having a multiplication fact race, and they have to, which team, gets the answer right, they race against each other. So it's interactive, it's not boring, and, you're just gonna sit there and try to, what we had to do, and I had to talk with my parents because, they were on NTI a long time, for during the day. And then they want to go to the gym. That's great. But if our kids were that behind, they would have a half-hour gym, but the rest, they were going to focus in on some of these labs and really get that work in, because that is what was important. Also, working with the parents to understand they shouldn't be just on their gaming systems all day. I need your help to make sure that they're doing this practice at home. And we have good parental support in that. In fact, parents were like, oh, thank God. We have some parents on some of our videos saying, my son couldn't read when he came there. Now he can. Next slide. All right, so we are able to measure some of the outcomes. Of course, we're still doing our labs because there's still a lot to do. But, there was improved phonemic awareness. They were able to, sound out the letters and blend sounds. They mastered decoding. They were sounding out the words and increasing fluency, as you saw. I mean, from 10 to 39, from 39 to 83 within 2 weeks, and it's just going higher. They had gains in reading comprehension. You can ask them questions about the story, and all of a sudden they're getting the answers correctly. They were focused on vocabulary. They were more focused. They were learning up to 18 words a week and doing spelling tests on that. So they were able to get their spelling words right. I remember when we began, man, no word was right. So we've seen significant gains. Next slide. There was also improvement in addition and subtraction, mathematical regrouping. We saw where they went from a whole grade, a grade up. So like one of our members here had a D from NTI began. And then she got moved up to a C the last grading period. And she came so elated and was just so happy, like, oh my God, and those are things that make your heart leap because you understand that what you're doing is making a difference. And then you see how their moods improve. So they mastered multiplication, they were learning critical thinking, and you saw some improvement, significant gains in their algebra and geometry and all that kind of things. So we saw some good successes, even in our team room, and building that atmosphere and environment where they could feel safe enough to say, you know what, I don't know this. And I'm tired of failing in school. And so that's another big part where we have to make the environment safe enough that they will disrobe their emotions and their guard, pull down the guards and say, you know what, I do need this help. And you see the teams in there getting their work done and doing it. So I think that's it, but next slide. And that's it for us. That's my contact information here. If this was any at all helpful, but yeah, that is what we are doing. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Antonio.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. That is extremely helpful, but also just it goes to the testament of how important our after school programs and out of school time programs are, because, had he not had that one-on-one time and gotten that, that concentrated effort on him, that we don't know where he would have been. Like, he still would be where he was at, and just like the school system, it just passes you on and just kind of their hands are tied behind their backs just because of legislation and things like that. But Those are the type of efforts that are needed within the youth, and also that is fundamental for learning, because everybody learns in different ways. Everybody learns in different type of environments. Everybody has their own preference and style of learning. So whenever you're able to concentrate and to show him and get him, to a place where he's comfortable, to make mistakes, and also comfortable to take risk and try, that is excellent. And that goes to the testament of our after school program. So awesome job that you all are doing there. And so now I just want to open up for some discussion, just generally about learning, and also about, just supplemental support. So just in the chat, I'm going to ask some true or false questions, and just in the chat, just put if you think it's true or false. Okay. So the first one, all learning is emotional. Is that true or false? All learning is emotional. True or false? All learning is emotional.
I done lost you.
True or false? All right, I'm seeing a couple true, seeing a couple false. Okay. All righty. So the answer to that one is true. Okay. So all learning is emotional. And so that comes to the assessment of how, just take into consideration the young man that she had. So within the class, she said they saw behaviors, and therefore he wasn't able to engage like he wanted to, or he wasn't able to learn like he should have because of the behaviors and the frustration that he had. Okay, so whenever we are not emotionally at an equilibrium or stable, that affects how we learn, because it affects the way we perceive things. So learning is perception, and also the way we interpret information. So normally, if you're mad, you're going to see things as mad, and you're not going to see them in a light that you should whenever you're learning those things. Okay. And then when you're happy, then it's easier for you to take those things in. And also, like when you're hungry, sometimes, like we say, that there is a correlation with poverty and people who are in food deserts and their academic achievements. And that's because when you're hungry, you're not learning because you're frustrated and your mind is on different things. And so that affects your emotions as well. Okay. So learning is emotional. And so with that being said, you do have to make sure that when the youth are learning, that they are in a place and they're in the mood, and they are also, emotionally ready, and not just cognitively or psychologically ready, but they're in a good mood and ready to learn. So that's why it's important for us to have good teachers, good people on staff, because if you have staff members that are constantly frustrating the kids, it's hard for them to learn in that environment. Okay, so the first one, that is true. All right, so for the second one, learning is fundamentally social. Is that true or false? Learning is fundamentally social. Is that true or false? Learning is fundamentally social. True or false? So I got some truths, got some false. Okay, all righty. So that is true. Learning is fundamentally social, okay? We learn, of course, by someone teaching us, of course, and that is a social interaction. And also, we also learn by observation. So when we observe others doing things, that is also a social interaction. So when we see others doing things, we kind of, implicitly learn those things because we take on the behaviors of the people who are doing things, okay? And so with that being said, when people are not able to, if there's any social ailments or ailments, within people, it makes it harder for them to read. So if there's any hearing impediments or speech impediments or things like that, for them to be able to interact socially, that affects learning as well. Okay. And then one more true or false question. So learning, okay, learning is not functional. Learning is not something that is functional. Learning is not functional. As in, so, you know, when something is a function of something, it relies on something else. Learning is not functional. Okay, that one is false. Learning is completely functional. Learning is definitely dependent on a lot of things, you know, so just cognitive abilities that affects learning. So that is functional to learning. And also just based on your social environments and the things that you have resources to, that is also a function of your learning as well. Okay, so yeah, so that's a quick true and false. Now I just want to open it up. So within your organizations, have you experienced, or just within your life, have you experienced youth who are, you know, apparently below the reading level or below the math skills that they should be at? Can anybody talk about that?
But
Oh,
definitely, I'm sorry, definitely for me here at Canaan Dare to Dream Academy, you know, we have a lot of kiddos here for NTI camp, and we've seen, you know, a sixth grader reading on the third grade level. I mean, the reading, you know, if they can't read, they can't learn, period, period. And so that is a huge challenge for a great deal of our children. So we are too focusing on the reading component, but I'm telling you, that's why they're not succeeding in school, because they can't read. And a
Right.
lot of times they don't want to say, and they do the same thing that Marvel was saying, you know, we just act, you know, you may want to act out, or you want to become invisible because you don't want somebody to call on you to do something. And the reading component is critical. And that's something that, you know, JCPS and all of these organizations, we have to really look at that. And so for me, the reading is a huge issue, huge, huge.
Gotcha.
we had a, I was really shocked at the number of kids that came into us for NTI that parents even admitted that their child couldn't read and that they had to have one-on-one assistance. And when you're looking at 60 plus kids, it's hard to give one-on-one assistance to over half the classroom with reading problems to help them with the schoolwork. It really has been a big challenge for us.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it seems like, yeah, that it's pretty common. Ms. Presley, you gonna say something?
Yes, you know, earlier when the first presenter, you know, spoke, you also see the other side where they become very emotionally unstable. You know, and you wonder, is their emotion, is it mental illness, or the fact that they're really so depressed about this thing and so down on themselves about this thing? And then having good teachers is also about the teachers having good high expectations for them and believing that all kids can do this, you know, and not leaving them behind, you know. And so as we work with our kids, we have to be passionate, especially about this reading. And I know it's a challenge, and that's why we had 2 substitute teachers, and I literally took them away from the one-on-one and had them focus directly on this. Because like Sherry said, we're not getting anywhere if our kids can't read. And as she said, maybe if there's a day we go back to after school, thinking about how we can really utilize our volunteers differently. You know, sometimes we have our volunteers here in the kitchen, but maybe I need you with a group here, and maybe getting them trained so that they can, you know, help with a little bit of phonemic awareness or decoding or something like that, but where we can be targeted with our volunteers, because without the one-on-one, we weren't going to be able to do this either.
Gotcha. And yeah, so with that being said, so you all do, as a part of BLOCS, you all do have access to Cascade, where you can see the grades, you know, of the youth that you serve if they are on your roster. And so you can go in there and you can see, like, if they have like an English or like a reading class and in their math class, and you can see, you know, what grades they are getting, and see how, you know, they are progressing or not progressing in that. So that is a resource as well. So please tap into Cascade. And Claire said she's with JCPS, and she's been helping me a lot with Cascade.
I
Beyond
have
that.
thought about that, but you know, when we have limited source of computer situations here, um, that is stuff I'm going to be looking into. I mean, we're back into the, like I said, the flip flop of grades right now. So we're redoing things, and I'm trying to figure out new ways for us to help the newer kids that we're getting, because a lot of them that we have for NTI has moved off into other areas.
Mhm.
But it's not meaning that I'm forgetting about them, because that's really stuck strong in my mind that we had these kids that, I mean, they were like we said, they were, you know, second, third, fourth, fifth graders that couldn't read past, you know, the grade level they were in, and it just blew me away. And I'm standing there going, oh my gosh, you know, this is serious. I started working where I could with each one of them, but like I said, when I got 4 classrooms with 10 to 15, 20 kids in each classroom, it was really a mind blower for me to know that I had that many, because at my regular site I had it set up where we had different people with a group working with them. And then to come into this, it was just really a mind blower for me. But I haven't given up. I'm going in to try to figure out better ways to offset what we're having the issues with.
Gotcha. Jessica, do you all have a way of assessing what level of the reading level that your youth are on?
We didn't have it. We didn't have the staff capability to do that this with the NTI, because we're so limited with our staffing situations right now. I'm hoping that we can change that once we get out of all the restrictions that we're in, because with the CDC regulations and all that, we're really restricted in a lot of what we can and can't do right now.
Gotcha. Okay. So just as we were talking about with learning, and you know, like Cherry said, is that if you can't read, you can't learn. So with that being said, so from kindergarten or pre-K all the way up until third grade, that is when you are learning to read. And then from fourth grade on, you are learning by reading. You know, so if you can't read, like she said, then you can't learn. So within the school age youth that you have, and then with your older youth, which one are you seeing the most disparity in as far as the ones who seem that are below reading level? Is it the older ones, the youth, or is it more of the school age, kind of from the kindergarten
It's
to
more these school age kids. I mean, I like I said, I kind of somewhat expected it with the kindergartners because they're just coming in. But it was just when it got to my third graders and my fourth graders, that just really kind of blew my mind, because I was like, I can kind of see you being a little off, but just for your parents to just say you can't read at all, you need assistance, that just really blew my mind.
Gotcha. Any others? Which one do you see the most disparities in, the older youth, or is it within the younger ages?
And actually, with the older group, that's where we had more of the behavior issues, not the younger group. I mean, the younger group, they seem, my kindergartners and first graders seem to me more, they would come and say, I need help. And they would ask for the help. But the others is where we had more of the behavior issues that we had to really work with. And that's the ones that's where I geared into more. It's not really so much it is a behavior issue, but it's being bounced off of what they can't do. So in order to not feel bad about what they couldn't do, they geared away from it and would focus more into getting into games in the computer, so they didn't have to deal with what they couldn't do.
Mhm.
And so that's where we were having some issues and sidetracking to getting into the sidetrack with them. And so I started working with them with, okay, if we can get this much done, then you get this so many minutes of time to play the game that you were wanting to play. So all, you know, tracking them back and forth to that way. And it, toward the end of NTI, they were getting better with it. And I know a couple of the boys, three or four of the kids got really excited because I did my assessment from memory of doing the block with you all and the reading thing like she had, but I had some books that I would use for them. And two or three of them got really excited because was able to complete the whole book. within a week. They was able to read the whole book and they were excited. Two of the boys went running out to the car. I read this whole book today, Mom. So I felt good about that, but it just in the beginning of it, it just blew my mind that so many kids came in like that, and parents didn't seem to have a problem with saying my child has trouble reading.
Gotcha. Anyone else? Do you see that more disparity within the younger children or with the olders?
I just wanted to bring up the fact that there's a difference between boys and girls reactions to this as well. With the boys, like the video that you showed, you're going to have more of those acting out behaviors, more aggressive, more violent potential. But with girls, you may see them more dreamy, doodling, more inward and self-harm potential than the outward. So you have to look for both sides of it. If there's a behavior that you're seeing that is uncharacteristic of the child that you knew before, or anything when you're trying to do a specific task, that is a warning sign for you that they're struggling with that task or with something related to it.
Yeah, we've seen some of that too. Actually, I also saw some of the girls even get aggressive like the boys, and it led to the fact that they could not read and they could not understand what they were doing. And I got to where I was doing them like I would do the boys. One of the girls even aggressed to playing the games, and she even got aggressive with that. So we had to start redirecting out of that area too into something that would be less aggressive to get her to where we needed her to be to understand what we needed her to do, and redirect everything to get her to start being able to focus on learning to do the reading to be able to do her schoolwork.
Gotcha. Awesome. Yeah, and I want to also talk about that because we're talking about, the emotions and behaviors. And so like we said earlier, that all learning is emotional. So within the learning environments that you have, what kind of environment, or how would you describe an ideal learning environment where it's conducive for youth to learn? How would you describe that? Well, how do you define a positive learning environment? Anybody?
Well, our learning environment here is we get moved around a lot. Obviously, we don't have a set area. We started out with classrooms, the desk and all that, which was good. But then as things move around, we got moved from classroom to just the gym and the cafeteria. So we were more closed in. And that's where we are now. It's just the cafeteria and the gym. But we've done it. I've been able to focus it where I've tape things, block things off, and try to make it find more quiet areas for the ones that we know that need the more one-on-one assessment and reading help or math help stuff, so that they get some more one quiet focus area versus distraction. And now they don't, thank goodness for not having to have the computers all day long. We have more time to do the one-on-one without the computer distraction, to where we can do the actual paper figuring with them, so they can actually do the visual of what we're wanting, what they need to learn, with what they need to do.
Gotcha. Anyone else? How would you describe or define a learning environment that's positive for learning?
I think it's different for each individual because everyone is differently. Some are more physical, some need that paper, like what Jessica was talking about, but some of them did really well when we switched to NTI because it took away some of the distractions that were in person, like anxiety, judgments, and social issues. So I think it needs to be individualized for each child's needs instead of just a mainstream one goal for everyone. And I think that's where we failed a lot of our children in JCPS, because everything is so mainstream, like mainstream testing, these state tests that are all one package and not directed at the level of where the kids are to see if they're actually progressing, instead of let's throw this advanced test at them and expect them to score high on it when they're not testing for progression, they're testing for, are you at this level? So I think that's what we need to look at for the future for our children. And I think that's a lot of what NTI exposed for us, and it was needed because now we can see these different levels of need, and where some kids may in the future in our future do better in classes that are computer-based versus in a classroom with other children who need that more hands-on learning or visual learning. So we may need to look closer at those factors of what works best for groups of kids and then separate them by division of what they do learn best with.
I agree with that, which is why we did differentiated instruction. Like everything was tailored to that particular member. But keeping that in mind, they also still have NTI. So if they're on a kindergarten level, or if they're not reading at all, but they still have second grade classwork that needs to be done, we have to have it, you know, so we're trying to teach them, but then we have to sit there and try to read to them to get them to get this right. You know what I'm saying? So it was like a balancing act. And even with our older kids, we have to meet them where they are, but then had to still try to get this work done, you know, and Rhonda is right there. Some did better with NTI and some just flopped. We watched a lot of kids just go down, just got terribly depressed. You see them laying down on the table, you're trying to, what's going on? What's happening? Are you okay? You know, and because so much videos were coming at them and so much, it also did expose the fact that NTI didn't cause all this reading instability, right? If you have a teenager that is in the 10th grade who cannot read, then that was an NTI. And so they have to get some systems in place that's really going to help these children, or else the statistics are jail or death. You know, they'll be robbing somebody or trying to harm somebody, and I hate to go there, but that's what we're challenged with. You know, if our kids, and that's why I'm very passionate about this and wanting to help in any way that I can, because if they cannot, then what's the alternative? You know, what are they going to do? They'll begin to drop out in the 5th grade. The black males are dropping out. When it gets to 5th grade, it's like, I'm done, forget this, and walking away. And then when they do that, then our communities are not safe. So when you said learning is functional, right? It affects everything. It's a circle of life, and everything is impacted by these kiddos that we have to begin to view differently.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree. But like you said, yeah, learning is functional, and it does, and it's very dependent on a lot of other factors. You know, social factors, emotional factors. There's a lot of things that go into play with that. And so we talked about the environment and the emotional. And then so when it comes to the learning is fundamentally social, how do you all incorporate that into programming as far as that social aspect of learning, so that they are able to, you know, interact with one another and also interact with the staff? What does that look like at your all's places?
One thing I loved about the timer that we used and the system, I don't even know if, I know you saw it on the thing, but one thing I love about this is very social, because it comes with four timers, and you can get any timer from anywhere, dollar store. And when you put them in a group and they begin to try to compete against each other, I'm telling you, good learning happens when kids are teaching each other. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we're adults and we think that, oh, we've got this and I've got to give it to you this way, and if I don't give it to you. But let me tell you, when I got them in groups, and not just myself, but even the substitute teachers, when they got them in groups with this kid and had the timers and they were racing against each other, you saw their fluency shoot up. Like, oh my God, and you saw them maintain that. And then there were questions on the back that they could ask each other. And they began to, you know, critique one another. And that was social. That was very social, and they were having a good time. And not only that, most importantly, outcome measurements, they were going up.
I did a lot of that game playing with them too. But what I did is like, I took like the big dice and changed the numbers on a few of them to letters, and they would have to roll the dice to spell the words that I would give them, and that was a challenge for them. And it was a physical but spelling game for them, and they loved it because they would do it against teams. And then we did it with the numbers, and we would do math form. You would have to roll the dice and figure out if, I would say, would either be adding, math, or subtraction or division. You got to come up with a total and you got to figure it out. So those were different things that we did with them, and then they loved that. And we would do it with, I would do it with like different types of exercise. You roll the dice, and it tells you, one dice told you what the exercise was, and one dice told you what the how many times you had to do it. So those were different things that they like to do, and it was competitive for them because they was like, oh, you got to do this time, and if you didn't do it, they wrote you out for it. No, that said 6 times, and you only done it 3 times. You got to go back and do it again. So those were kind of the things that I helped them with, and I mean, it was from all grade levels that would do it. And it was, at first I wasn't sure how it was going to work, but even the older kids got to where they was helping the younger kids spell the words, come up with the letters to spell the words that they had to spell. And I also made up flashcards with letters, and they had to go find the letters to spell out the words. And all the kids would join. The older kids would say, "Can I go help that group find those letters?" So yeah, getting them to help. And then, as you said, I would have some of the kids that weren't having problems with reading. They would say, "I'm done with my work." They would show me, so they would ask if they could go help the ones that were struggling with the same classwork that they were doing, and I would let them go over and help as much as they could without giving them the answers. I said, "Well, now you can't give them the answers. You just have to help them figure out how to get the answers."
Awesome.
Back with the peer learning thing, that's what we do here at NAMI as well. And it's not just for kids. We do it with adults. That's why we train our peer-led support groups, because if you feel that you are accepted by someone who's been through what you're going through or can understand on your level, you're more apt to learn. And there was a study done about isolation that says that we are social creatures, because if you isolate and you're alone too long, you will die of loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
Latest statistics about adolescents, it was about, I think it was from 12 to 16 that they did this study. They said 80% of children admitted to feeling isolated or not accepted. And that was it didn't divide by race, ethnicity, or any of those factors. It just said a flat 80%. And that 23.5% of that 80% who admitted to that said they feel it all the time. That's nationally. So that's big numbers. So we need social piece.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes back into what we do, like with the youth methods, like and having high quality programs such as a supportive environment and a sense of belonging. That's where that stuff comes into play, where everybody, feels that they belong to the group and nobody feels isolated, and that we do have those community builders where everybody can get to know one another, because learning is social. And sometimes when you don't know people, it gives you some social anxiety. What are they thinking about me? I don't know who to talk to. Those things come into play as well. So that's why it's very important to establish community, and to also to make sure that the environment is safe, from bullying, mentally and also just physically, and everything. There's so much that goes into learning, and it's a lot. So there's another point that I want to address, and that a lot of us probably dealt with, and that is family engagement when it comes to learning. I know many of you all, of course, you work with the youth, and the parents aren't there, of course, because it's not the school program or for whatever reason. So you all are, the caregivers and the guardians during this time. But after they leave and they go home, or even when they come to pick up the kids, do you all see any evidence of there being any engagement with the kids on behalf of their families? Or do you see engaged parents within your programs? What does that look like? What does family engagement look like at your all's programs?
Well, for us right now in CEP, we're not even allowed to have family engagements in CEP at all because of the COVID. But I do know from just talking to a lot of the parents when they pick them up or drop them off, I make sure I make contact with them verbally while in the time I have to talk to them. And say, hey, we didn't get to get this done, or we had issues with this, but we didn't get to get it completed. A lot of the parents will say, yeah, thanks for letting me know. We're going to work on that this night. Or I even make a point because I like to, when I can, go to the sports events or special events. And that's how I can keep up with the family engagement stuff if I can get a chance to, or no. And the kids are pretty good about sharing that with us. And we all get real excited. Like we've had some kids come to here at Smyrna. They've gotten Student of the Week awards, and we've made big deals with that. And I go running out to make a race to the door to say, hey, I got good news for you. And it's like, no, I get to tell it first and things like that. So working with the staff to make sure that we help encourage the family engagement in any way we can, just to entice it with the kids and the parents, so that, yeah, we can't do it where they come in like we've always done in the past, but we can substitute other ways to do that.
Anyone else? What does family engagement look like at your all's programs? Awesome. So in the chat, I'm putting up the next training that we have, and that deals with family engagement. So if you want to, learn strategies on how to engage families within your program, be sure to register for that and attend that one. And also, with that being said, I've spoken to many teachers, and I have a lot of teachers that are within my family, and they do see a positive correlation with academic performance when families are engaged. So when parents are involved with the teachers, or when they are involved within the school in some kind of way, there is a positive correlation to that to that child's outcomes. So whenever they are engaged, whenever they're asking questions, whenever they're able to, look on the agenda and see if they even have homework that is due, those things matter, because a lot of times some kids, oh, yeah, I already did it. And, they leave all the responsibility on the child, when a lot of times, of course, we know kids are not responsible. And when it comes to homework and schoolwork, of course, they've already done it. It's all been done and everything's done to perfection, So within y'all's programs, do know that there is a positive correlation within family engagement. And then we got about 15 minutes left. So I just want to kind of open the floor and just talk about what do you think is the importance or the role of after school programs when it comes to youth learning? What is your role? What are you there for, as far as the role that you play in their learning? I give some time to reflect on that. Yes, kind of philosophical and a little deep.
While everyone's thinking of their question there, because we don't do after school, we do scheduled things that are throughout the day, weekends and all those things. But the main thing that we do that I think is family engagement is the classes that we do for parents and caregivers. And so we see the family engagement side not as much in education, but that's also why in our basics class, it does talk about those education pieces, because those are the concerns of the school age children in basic class for anyone who is struggling. So if you have families that are willing to try and learn and need to learn those hoops to jump through, because I've been through the hoops myself, even with all of the access I have and all of the resources I have, it was still harder for me when I had my own child go through the IEP process and through the home hospital process and different things like that, because I've had a very sick child that had to go through all those processes. Someone that's been through all those hoops and all that, it's very on the parents as well. And they can get a burnout level of feeling frustration after they've tried to reach out so many times, and people just say, here, go to another person, here, go to another person, here, go to another person. So this way with NAMI, when you get to that AEP and 504 process and you don't know where to go, call me, because I will send you right to that person instead of you having to call this person, that person, this person, that person. I'll send you to the person at the top. That way they know that you're trying to reach out, especially if you've tried several times and they keep giving you a runaround, because even I got that feeling myself. And we don't need to have that feeling when we're already dealing with a sick child or a mentally ill child. I think that a lot of schools assume that parents don't want to be engaged, but I think parents just don't feel welcome to engage is the problem. So I think that is where I think the after school programs come in, is where they don't feel welcome to engage in school. They can feel welcome to engage with you guys.
Well, and not only, I agree with you on that, but also from my end of it, I'm seeing a lot more grandparents raising grandkids. So there's a lot of emotions going on there. It's the emotions of, here I go again. I didn't think I would have to be raising my grandchild or my grandchildren. Also, it's dealing with the emotions that the children are going through, because now they're with the grandparents and not their parents. And that's a lot of issues emotionally, socially, and all. So I see a lot of that as well. And I work very hard with both sides of that party. And then when you get the parent back into the picture too, but the parent still doesn't have all of the parental rights, so that throws another flip flop in there. You get a lot of that going too. So at that point, I have to stop and think, really figure out, who do I need to guard the most with the emotions right there, and it's usually the child. But I have called you all a few times and they've given the number out quite a few times for these parents to say, hey, here, go to this number, call them. They will put you where you need to be, and they will help you get the child's counseling and stuff. And let me tell you, I am so thankful for you people, because you've been a godsend to me with a few of my families. So
We've definitely gotten calls from parents saying, where can we drop our kid off? Because it becomes a situation where the parents feel helpless. And it's not because they're bad parents or they can't do the job. It's because they don't have resources. Children don't come with a guidebook. Nobody tells you when that baby's born that they're screaming because they have a tummy ache. You have to learn those things. And for certain individuals, they didn't even get a chance to learn themselves before they had kids. So that's why we're seeing that rise. And it is a large number, like you were saying, Jessica, of grandparents who are raising kids now. And that's the reason why with Project Tech Drive, part of what we do is a parent digital citizenship program for individuals who are not tech savvy to learn how to keep their kids safer online and to be safe themselves. Because in several of those parent digital citizenship programs, I did 12 a couple years ago, like one boom, 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 right after another. And I saw a lot of grandparents in there and a lot of flip phones. Mm-hmm. So if you're practicing on a flip phone, you don't know how to keep your kids safe or your grandkids safe online. I can guarantee you that. And they did not know a lot of things. And I had a lot of questions. And we ran into the next class, almost every class, because grandparents were like, I didn't know that, and now I'm scared. But that's where the supports come in afterwards. That's why we scare you, and then we give you the supports. I have so many apps on my phone that are free for keeping kids safe and family management and time management and different things like that. And I hand them out readily because it's nothing that I get a kickback on, and it's nothing you have to pay for. But I have, like you can barely see here, these are family apps. These are the ones I use most to monitor my kids. And one of them's that parent app for JCPS, so I can see those grades too. I know a lot of people are upset with NTI and how everything's went tech, but I think it's the greatest thing since like sliced bread and sliced cheese because now I can see everything and I am like a control manager on my kids. But that's one of the reasons why my husband says, you know, I'm glad they're playing video games instead of doing the things we did when we were little. But
Right.
for that, because I'm like up here on the tech, and then my oldest, she'll be like, I hate that you know this stuff. Why couldn't I have a different parent that didn't know this stuff? And then when I tell her friends' parents, because I get to know the parents too, that I tell them about these apps and they're like, why'd you have to do that? Now they're going to hate me because their parents are going to be just like you. There's a reason for that, because we,
Right.
and it takes a village, and now we have technology so we can be a bigger village.
Mhm. Yeah,
There's
and with that being said,
they're
like,
free.
you all as after school programs, like you are a part of those children's, you are a part of their village, you know, so you do matter in the relationships that you do establish, and everything that you say and do, that stuff matters to them, you know. So when they keep coming back, that means there's something that's being done that's right.
That's why our advocacy council, the youth advisory council, has been blooming and growing, because these kids, they find this group that's just like them, that looks like them, acts like them, sounds like them, thinks
Mhm.
like them. And we're not telling them what to do as adults. We're saying, what do you think?
It's youth voice,
What
yeah.
do you want? How do you feel?
Mhm.
What is your opinion?
Yeah.
What would you like this event to look like? And they're forming these ideas for themselves. And you can see some really creative ideas when you just say, what is your idea? What is your thoughts? I think we need more of, what do the kids want?
Maria, you gonna say something?
I'm just gonna agree with Rhonda in terms of the parents. And when you talk about parent engagement, you know, we've had a lot of parent engagement here. You've been here yourself. Of course, COVID did impact that. But what we're noticing, as she said, parents do want to be involved. And I think we have to meet them at the point where they don't know what to do. And so like, we had to have a drive-through clinic. We had to have a drive-through MTI clinic where we were teaching our parents, so this is how you get in there, and this is what you do. And you look at right here, and then you can check this part to see if they have anything missing, and this will show you if it's blank, you know? And so with them knowing that, we saw parents engaging. It's kind of like the kids who don't know how to read. I think Sherry said they go invisible. Some of our parents go invisible. They don't really know what to do. But once you give them that tool, and so Boys and Girls Clubs, man, we do so much because there's so many factors, and as you say, functions to this thing. You asked the question about after school programs and how important they are, and I would say that they are vital. They are vital, and after school programs, if ran correctly, are game changers. You know, I know that we've seen at the Boys and Girls Club, kids leave gangs. You know, we've seen, as you said, grade levels go up, but like you said, it's emotional. It's more than grades, right? Because you said earlier, you asked us a question about, is it emotional? You know, there's a lot of emotions going on. And so after school programs done correctly meet a plethora of needs. And I think they're absolutely vital. I work at the Boys and Girls Clubs of Kentuckiana, and I can only speak for us. And the work we do, and we work with Metro United Way through the methods courses, and we implement them here. The community builders, how we've seen youth, teens, you know, they're on their phone all the time. And so they don't know how to socialize. Now you put somebody in front of them and they don't know how to talk. You know, we had a lunch and learn the other day, and I don't know on that because that was not the topic. They ended up on dating and this and that. But they began to how when they don't know how to talk, but they sit next to each other. And so school programs with the Metro United Way, the methods, building community, when they can now interact with each other, not just on a phone, but you know, face to face. You see the groups, you see them like this, and it starts to, they start to gel, they start to protect one another, they start to care for one another. So after school programs, absolutely vital. Send your kids.
Yeah, so we got about 2 minutes left, so we'll go ahead and start to close with just some takeaways. And remember, learning is emotional, learning is social, and learning is functional. So it is very dependent on a lot of different things. So, it's something that is not simple, it's very complex, and when it is done right, it is life-changing and it changes lives forever. And so for me, what I'll say when I see after-school programs and out-of-school time, organizations, I see them as connecting the disconnect in learning, because when in school, there's a lot of disconnect that happens because, like Rhonda said, some people learn by doing physical things, some people learn by, doing the arts. Everybody has different learning preferences and styles. But the beauty of an after school program is that there are so many different staff, who can do different things with the different groups. So you're also able to group them by learning styles if you wanted to as well, and also cater to them. And then like in Newburgh, you can implement things like reading and math labs to focus on the level that people are in. So connecting the disconnected learning, that is something that is super important. And so something that we're working on right now that I'm trying to get implemented is certifying you all as tutors. So the tutor certification, that entails you all just learning different strategies and methods on how to help the youth within the things that they're learning. So you will learn, what learning is, how people learn, how the brain works, when you're learning. All those are inside of that training. And we responded from you all whenever you told us, with the NTI, how things were, you all weren't equipped to be teachers and how that goes. So this has been fantastic. Thank you all so much. You will get an email from me just with the survey, just to let me know how it went and what you recommend for us to do. I will put my email in the chat. Like I said, don't forget, we do have the BLOCS EAP, so you do have access to free therapy, and that 6 sessions, it's free. So please don't let that opportunity pass you by to get any assistance that you need. And Nami, she put her information within there. And Ms. Presley, could you put yours in there as well? And we are finished for today. And please don't hesitate to reach out to anybody if you are in need of anything. And what was the name of the game? Miss Presley, what was the name of the game of the box that you had that you worked on for the for the reading? Okay, she said she's going to put it in the chat, so we'll wait for that. And if anybody has to go, I bid you to thank you so much for coming, and I'll go ahead and let anybody who wants to stay, you can go ahead and network and talk or whatnot. This has been lovely. Thank you all. And there's my email. And Miss Marvia, she's putting her the box in there right now, Cherry. And hello, Miss Laura, you were pretty quiet today. I didn't hear from you today. How are you today?
I'm well. How
Awesome.
are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. You got it. I don't see it, Miss. Oh, did you? Oh, she typed. Okay, you got it. Sorry. Okay, gotcha. Awesome. All right, well, fantastic job, everybody. Miss Presley and Rhonda, thank you, Rhonda. That was very informative. I definitely appreciate that. You all are doing fantastic work, and I hope everybody reaches out to all those resources at NAMI and kind of implement those programs like you all got at Newburgh. Miss Cherry, you plan on implementing something like that at your program?
Well, I definitely want to check it out. I'm always open to looking for resources. I like for our children to be interactive. So when she held it up, I was trying to hurry up and write it down, and then you put it down. I was like, oh, I need it. So I'm always open to just trying new things. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, and I'll keep that in mind as well as far as coaching goes, to keep those interactive things that y'all like. As far as the resources, so that's cool.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic.
All right.
Anybody else? What y'all want to talk about?
I was just staying just in case.
Yeah.
Me too, me too.
Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay.
You never
all right.
know. You don't want to jump off and then they're like, oh, well, you know, nobody's
Right.
here to help me still.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay. Well, I guess it's safe for all of us to go. Thank you all so much.
Well,
Y'all have a
thank
great rest of
you.
your day. Thank you.
Thank you.